Could investment in machine tools reduce Africa's reliance on imported finished goods and save foreign exchange? Africa has often been described as a continent rich in resources but poor in manufactured wealth. Despite possessing abundant minerals, energy, and agricultural resources, African economies remain heavily dependent on imports of finished goods from cars and industrial machinery to household appliances and medical equipment. This dependence drains foreign exchange reserves, worsens trade deficits, and keeps Africa in a subordinate position within the global economy. At the heart of this problem lies the absence of a strong machine tool industry. Machine tools, the lathes, milling machines, grinders, presses, and computer-controlled machining systems that produce parts for all other machines are often called the mother industry because they enable the production of nearly every manufactured item. Without them, Africa remains dependent on external suppliers for industrial goods. The central question is, can investment in machine tools help Africa reduce its reliance on imported finished goods and save foreign exchange? The answer is a resounding yes, and the reasons are manifold. 1. The current burden of import dependence. Importing finished goods at high costs. Africa imports billions of dollars worth of finished goods every year. Automobiles, electronics, industrial equipment, and medical devices top the list. In 2022 alone, African countries spent over $63 billion on vehicle imports and tens of billions more on machinery and electronics. This pattern drains foreign currency reserves, often leading to balance of payment crises. Weak local value chains. Because African countries lack indigenous machine tool capacity, local industries are unable to produce essential machinery and spare parts. Even when African firms assemble products such as cars in Nigeria or Ethiopia, they rely heavily on imported components. This undermines the development of robust local supply chains. See foreign exchange pressures. Reliance on imports forces governments to allocate scarce foreign exchange for purchases abroad. When commodity prices fall, foreign exchange earnings shrink, making it harder for nations to pay for imports. This creates a cycle of dependency, currency depreciation, and inflation. 2. How machine tools break the cycle. A local production of industrial goods. With machine tools, African nations can produce the parts and equipment needed for industries like automotive, construction, agriculture, and energy. Instead of importing tractors, solar panel frames, or steel fabrication equipment, countries can manufacture them locally. For example, automotive sector, instead of importing $5,000 to $20,000 vehicles, African factories equipped with machine tools could produce them at lower cost using local labor and materials. Agriculture, instead of spending foreign exchange on tractors from Europe or Asia, Africa could manufacture them domestically, boosting food security and saving billions annually. Reduced import bills. By manufacturing goods locally, Africa would reduce the massive outflow of foreign exchange used for finished imports. Even if not every product can be produced locally, replacing just 20 to 30% of finished imports with locally manufactured goods could save African economies tens of billions of dollars per year. See creation of domestic value chains. Machine tools enable local companies to produce spare parts, components, and specialized equipment. This supports domestic industries, reduces downtime from waiting on imports, and allows African economies to move up the global value chain. 3. Foreign exchange savings, concrete examples. Nigeria. Nigeria spends about $10 billion annually on vehicle imports. If local industries produced even 30% of vehicles and parts using machine tools, Nigeria could save $3 billion yearly. That money could be reinvested in infrastructure or education rather than leaving the country. Kenya. Kenya imports most of its agricultural machinery. By producing irrigation pumps, plows, and tractors locally, the country could save hundreds of millions of dollars each year and support rural mechanization, doubling agricultural output. See South Africa and Egypt. Both nations already have some industrial base but remain dependent on high-tech imports. A stronger machine tool sector would allow them to reduce dependence on European and Asian suppliers, potentially saving $5 to $7 billion annually in foreign exchange. Continental scale. Across Africa, savings could reach $40 to $60 billion annually if domestic industries replaced even a modest share of imported finished goods with local production supported by machine tools. 4 wider economic benefits beyond savings. A. Strengthening local currencies. By reducing the demand for foreign currency to pay for imports, African currencies would stabilize. This makes local economies more resilient to external shocks like oil price swings or global financial crises. B. Industrial learning and technology transfer. Machine tool industries force nations to master high-precision engineering, automation, and digital technologies. These skills spill over into other industries, creating a culture of innovation. C. Export potential. Once African firms master machine tools, they can export both machine tools themselves and finished goods. This shifts economies from being net importers to net exporters, earning foreign exchange rather than losing it. D. Job creation and incomes. As local industries expand, more jobs are created. Higher incomes mean more local spending, reducing the need for imported consumer goods and further saving foreign exchange. 5 obstacles to overcome. While the benefits are clear, building a machine tool industry is not without challenges. High capital requirements. Machine tool factories require significant investment in equipment, precision technology, and skilled labor. Skill gaps. Africa must invest heavily in training engineers, machinists, and technicians to operate advanced equipment. Infrastructure. Reliable electricity, transportation, and digital infrastructure are prerequisites for a thriving machine tool sector. Policy consistency. Governments must provide incentives for industrial investment, protect infant industries, and resist policies that favor raw material exports over local manufacturing. 6. The way forward. A regional collaboration. Instead of each country trying to build a full spectrum of machine tool capacity, African nations could pool resources under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. For instance, one nation could specialize in agricultural machine tools, another in automotive, and another in energy. B. Public-private partnerships. Governments should partner with private companies to build machine tool factories, offering tax incentives, subsidies, and infrastructure support. C. Leveraging diaspora and Global South partnerships. Africa can learn from countries like India, Brazil, and China, which built machine tool industries despite starting from limited bases. Diaspora engineers and Global South cooperation could accelerate skills transfer. D. Building technical education. Technical universities and vocational schools must focus on precision engineering, CNC programming, robotics, and digital design to supply the human capital needed for machine tools. Conclusion. Africa's dependence on imported finished goods is one of the greatest barriers to true economic independence. Every container of vehicles, machinery, and electronics shipped into Africa represents not only a missed opportunity for local manufacturing but also a drain on foreign exchange reserves. By investing in machine tools, African nations can begin to produce the machinery, vehicles, agricultural equipment, and renewable energy components they currently import. This would drastically reduce import bills, save tens of billions of dollars annually in foreign exchange, strengthen local currencies, and lay the foundation for export-led growth. Machine tools are not just about factories and machines, they are about sovereignty, financial resilience, and industrial empowerment. If Africa embraces this path, it can transform from a continent that imports its future to one that manufactures it at home. How can Africa compete with machine tool giants like Germany, Japan, China, and South Korea? Machine tools are the mother machines of industrialization, the foundation upon which automobiles, aircraft, construction equipment, electronics, and renewable energy systems are built. Countries that dominate machine tool production, such as Germany, Japan, China, and South Korea, have built their industrial powerhouses on this sector. At first glance, Africa seems far behind. The continent imports the vast majority of its machine tools, has limited indigenous production, and lacks the large-scale industrial clusters of Asia and Europe. Yet, this does not mean Africa cannot compete. By strategically identifying niches, building on regional advantages, and embracing modern technology, Africa can develop its own machine tool capacity and carve out a competitive space in the global market. This article explores how Africa can realistically position itself against these established giants. 1. Learning from the giants, what makes them strong? To understand how Africa can compete, it's important to analyze what makes Germany, Japan, China, and South Korea dominant in the machine tool sector. Germany, known for precision, quality, and innovation. German machine tools are expensive but highly reliable, serving advanced industries like aerospace and automotive. Japan combines precision with automation, robotics, and electronics integration. Japanese firms like Mazak and Okumer are leaders in CNC technology. China, mass production and affordability. China has rapidly scaled its machine tool industry, dominating low to mid-range markets globally. South Korea, known for adaptability, competitiveness, and integration with automotive and shipbuilding industries. These strengths are the result of decades of investment in education, R&D, industrial policy, and international trade positioning. Africa cannot replicate these overnight. Instead, it must identify unique strategies to compete. 2. Competing through niche specialization. Africa cannot, and should not, attempt to outdo Germany in ultra-high precision aerospace machines or China in mass production. Instead, the continent should focus on niche markets where demand is high, barriers to entry are lower, and local conditions provide advantages. Possible niches. Affordable CNC machines for SMEs. Many African businesses cannot afford German or Japanese CNC systems. Locally produced, lower-cost alternatives adapted for African conditions, dust, humidity, erratic electricity, could fill this gap. Agricultural machine tools, tools for repairing and manufacturing farm equipment such as plows, harvesters, and irrigation systems. Construction and mining equipment, machines specialized for Africa's booming infrastructure and mining sectors. Renewable energy components, machine tools adapted to manufacture solar panel frames, wind turbine parts, and hydropower systems. Repair and retrofit services. Instead of competing in brand new machines, Africa can specialize in refurbishing imported tools and retrofitting them with modern controls. This focus on what Africa needs first strategy would build local capacity while reducing dependence on imports. 3. Leveraging the leapfrog effect. Africa is not burdened by the legacy systems that older machine tool giants must constantly upgrade. This creates opportunities for technological leapfrogging. Digital manufacturing. Instead of investing heavily in outdated analog systems, Africa can jump directly into affordable CNCs, IoT-enabled machines, and AI-driven optimization. Additive manufacturing. 3D printing. Africa could combine 3D printing with traditional machine tools to reduce prototyping costs and innovate faster. Open source CNC software. Instead of costly proprietary systems, Africa can develop and adapt open source machine control software. Just as Africa leapfrogged landlines by adopting mobile phones directly, it can adopt smart, flexible, and modular machine tools without wasting decades on outdated systems. 4. Building regional machine tool hubs. No single African nation can compete with Germany or China alone, but regional cooperation could make it possible. West Africa Hub, focused on agricultural and mining-related machine tools. East Africa Hub, specializing in construction and renewable energy tools. Southern Africa Hub, centered around automotive and heavy industry. North Africa Hub, linked to Mediterranean trade, producing mid-range CNC tools for export. By creating Pan-African clusters, countries can pool resources, share expertise, and achieve economies of scale. Institutions like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, provide the framework to support such collaboration. 5. Human capital development. No machine tool industry can succeed without skilled people. Africa's competitive advantage lies in its youthful population. With over 60% of Africans under 25, the continent has a massive labor pool ready for technical training. Key actions. Expand vocational training centers to teach machining, CNC programming, and robotics. Strengthen polytechnics to bridge practical skills with engineering theory. Support universities to lead in R&D for new machine tool designs. Encourage apprenticeships in collaboration with local industries. By building a skilled workforce, Africa can not only serve its own machine tool industries but also export talent globally. 6. Strategic partnerships and technology transfer. Africa doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. Instead, it can form strategic alliances with established machine tool powers. Joint ventures, invite German or Japanese companies to co-produce in Africa, with technology transfer agreements. Licensing agreements, manufacture under license, gradually localizing production. South-South cooperation, partner with China and India for affordable technology transfer suited to emerging economies. Over time, African firms can move from simple assembly to full-scale design and production. 7. Government policy as a catalyst. Industrial policy will make or break Africa's machine tool ambitions. Governments must provide tax incentives and subsidies for machine tool startups. Establish industrial parks with shared infrastructure for machine tool companies. Protect emerging industries with tariffs on imports while they grow. Invest in research grants and university-industry collaborations. Encourage public procurement of locally made machine tools to provide a guaranteed market. South Korea and China both used strong state-led policies to nurture their machine tool industries. Africa will need the same. 8. Competing on sustainability. Another angle for competition is green manufacturing. Established giants often focus on efficiency but not always on sustainability. Africa can differentiate itself by producing machine tools designed for low energy consumption, use of recycled materials, adaptability to renewable energy sources, affordable maintenance and repairability. By branding itself as a hub for sustainable machine tools, Africa could carve a unique global reputation. 9. Long-term vision, from importer to innovator. Africa's path to competing with global machine tool giants will likely follow 3 stages. Short-term, 0 to 5 years focus on repairing, refurbishing, and retrofitting existing tools. Import basic machines while training local talent. Medium-term, 5 to 15 years develop regional hubs producing affordable, Africa-adapted CNC machines and components. Build domestic markets in agriculture, construction, and renewable energy. Long-term, 15 to 30 years emerge as a global competitor in specialized machine tools, exporting sustainable, low-cost solutions to other developing economies. This staged approach mirrors how China transformed itself from an importer in the 1980s to a global leader today. 10. Conclusion. Africa cannot and should not try to outcompete Germany in precision or China in scale. But by focusing on niche specialization, regional cooperation, human capital, technology transfer, and sustainability, the continent can build a machine tool industry that not only meets its own needs but also competes globally. The race is not about being identical to the giants but about being strategically different. With smart policies and investment, Africa could become the world's go-to destination for affordable, sustainable, and adaptable machine tools, not only catching up but also setting new standards in the global manufacturing landscape. Could Africa leapfrog into modern smart manufacturing, CNC, robotics, AI-driven production, by building machine tool capacity now? Can Africa leapfrog into smart manufacturing by building machine tool capacity? For decades, Africa's industrial development has lagged behind other regions, with economies often stuck in the role of raw material exporters rather than producers of high-value goods. But as the global manufacturing landscape shifts toward Industry 4.0, smart factories powered by CNC, computer numerical control, robotics, IoT, and artificial intelligence, Africa faces both a challenge and an opportunity. The central question is, can Africa leapfrog traditional industrial pathways and embrace smart manufacturing directly, provided it invests in machine tool capacity now? This article argues that while leapfrogging is possible, it requires deliberate strategies centered around machine tools, the mother industry, combined with skill development, infrastructure, and innovation ecosystems. 1. Understanding smart manufacturing. Smart manufacturing, often described as Industry 4.0, refers to a highly digital, automated production environment where machines communicate, optimize processes in real time,